so far for us, what's happening is it's basically just reducing the cost for a project. So I remember there was a guy we met, it was like a year and a half ago, and he had an idea for a startup, and we estimated it, and he was like, "Hey, I get this. This sounds right. That's too much for me." We're like, totally understand. And I called him back, like a couple months ago, and I was like, "Well, if we can use AI to build this, we kind of got it down to about like, maybe a third or so of the price. Mm-hmm. It's just less labor." And he was like, "Okay, that sounds perfect. Let's go." So overall, it's increasing the volume you can do. And again, there's a lot of complexities on what's good and bad. There's some risks around AI, around intellectual property and security, and maintainability. But overall, yeah, we've been like embracing it.
On Creative Assembly's The Spark podcast, our mission is to amplify Nashville's diverse creative voices, foster growth through shared journeys, and inspire a city that thrives on collaboration. And now, here's The Spark.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Spark. I'm your host, Mark Scrivener, and today we're going to be talking about one of the longest running technology powerhouses in Nashville with my friend JJ Rosen from Atiba. JJ, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
So great having you here.
No, I appreciate it, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, JJ, we've known each other for quite a while, and we've talked about a lot of things, but I don't know if I ever know the origin story of how you started Atiba back in 1992.
So I wish I could say that I had like a plan, but I didn't. I was actually a psychology major back in college, and this is, of course, a long time ago now. Mm-hmm. And I was hoping. I was not sure what I was going to do when I got out of college, but I thought I might go to grad school in psychology, and I figured I'd take a year off between that and just get a job and work and save up some money, and then kind of get make sure that was the direction I wanted to go. So what happened was I got a job with the DA's office downtown, and the job title was pretty awful. It was called Child Support Coordinator for the state of Tennessee. And in Tennessee, the DA's offices in every county, they have a child support collection office. And my job was really not very well defined. It was just try to help them collect more child support. And so I remember I thought, this is a terrible job, but at least it's a job and you're out of school and you have something that you can do. And so I took that, and I noticed when I kind of started looking around that none of the offices had computers at all, which wasn't completely unusual back then. There was still typewriters, and but I just noticed that they didn't have computers, and I thought, well, maybe I can just get them computers. And I was not a computer nerd at the time. I could like type a paper in WordPerfect. Mm-hmm. So that kind of got me on this whole thing where I just got addicted to all things computer, and I ended up, setting up networks in the offices, and then I ended up writing some software, which was hard because I didn't really know what I was doing, and it was before the web to help you.
You were one of the first software developers out there, weren't you?
Well, it was not many in Nashville, especially, and so I wrote this software and I had it up and running, I think, in Cookeville and Manchester, Tennessee, just small places. And Anderson Consulting, or like Accenture now, but Anderson Consulting back then, they got this contract to do essentially a mainframe version, this statewide mandate, a federally mandated statewide system of essentially the same thing I was building. And they kept on asking me if I could get my software installed in every office around the state. I think there was 31 of them. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to use that to collect all the data that they were going to load into their software. And so I was like, sure. And then I thought about it, and I was making maybe like $6 an hour. And they were charging like $200 an hour in like 1992. And I thought, well, they seem to really need me to do this. So I kind of just basically just quit my job at the state and became a one-person, computer consultant was the job title at the time. And so my first client was Anderson. And that's what kind of like got me into this. So it was pretty accidental, but it was good time to learn both about the tech side, project management. You can kind of see all the challenges with that, and then kind of at a relatively young age, just start learning the ups and downs and all the challenges around just business in general.
JJ, all the offices around the state, like how'd you handle it in the early days? Like,
there was I would get a state car, which was kind of cool. It had like the little emblem on it, and cruise all over the place, and literally load up all the computers for an office into the car or sometimes a van if it was a bigger place, and just basically camp out at each office, for maybe like a week at a time, and get the software up and going and the network up and going. And it was tricky. That's a good question because back then there wasn't, of course, cell phones. And so in some ways that made it where there was less ongoing support because people were just harder to get a hold of. I actually had a pager, like the old school pager. And so I just did my best to like support the offices and get the new ones going. So
JJ, about 50% of our audience is going to know what you're talking about, and 50%
sure
may not, may have to look it up.
Yeah,
but,
Google.
No, that's funny, the old days. So that's an amazing story. What was the when you wrote that first software program? What did you write it on?
So back then there was a bunch of different languages. And again, this might be for us being older. There was Fox Pro and DBase 3+, and all kinds of sort of much different than there are now. And there was a platform that it happened to just be what they had at the state, like they just had literally the software sitting there, called Clarion. And it was kind of like a C++ kind of style. And so I just dug into that and struggled with it, and it was very, very hard, but eventually it started clicking.
Yeah. When did you when did Atiba ultimately form? Like you get another employee, like what?
Yeah.
How did that start to shape?
So when I first got going, it was just me, and I still thought I might just do this until this one contract just runs out. And I still was thinking I may end up going back to grad school in psychology. But what happened is there was more initial clients that came up, mainly from my coworkers or people working at Anderson who would leave. Because the idea there is, they would work everybody to death, and kind of a lot of people would just leave, which was okay. Mm-hmm. And so I remember a couple of people I was working with. One guy went to HCA, or it was Columbia HCA at the time. Mm-hmm. Somebody else went to, I think it was like Nissan or something. And they just called me and they were like, "Oh, I need some help on this tech, stuff or either coding or IT." And so I tried to, all of us who were kind of like the freelancers, just do all of it myself for a while. And I figured I could just work super hard. And I was very, very afraid to actually hire someone. But eventually there was like a tipping point where okay, I just can't do all this and I'm going to need to commit to hiring employees, which was extremely scary for me. That was, I remember the first employee I hired who we're still working together, Glenn.
Wow.
I remember the day I hired him, great guy, really nice. And I just thought, okay, if this falls apart, I'm just going to pay him out of my savings whatever, because I just didn't want to fail at that and didn't want to hurt him. But yeah, that's kind of was a little bit of a catalyst to pushing ahead. And then of course the .com stuff started happening, and that helped us as well.
Yeah. So you and Glenn have worked together for over 30 years.
Yeah, we've been.
That's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, no, Glenn, he by pure luck. Again, I would love to say it was my skill recruiting, or just turned out to be, and still probably is, one of the best software developers I've ever seen. He's from Columbia, Tennessee. Didn't go to college. Just had this natural ability, I guess, or and an interest, and very, very hard worker. And so definitely, I without Glenn, it would have been, I don't know if we would have grown much.
Yeah. Well, just for the audience's sake, maybe bring us up to the current day of, and I know we're going to fill in some gaps in between, but just give everybody an overview of Atiba today and what all you do. I know there's many other services besides just programming or.
Yeah. So basically, that whole idea of being a computer consultant, back when in the 90s, that was a very defined job title. Like in the Yellow Pages, you'd have a list of computer consultants, and basically that meant that you were just the computer person that did everything. So you would help someone install a network, or write some custom software, or fix their printer, just whatever, just the computer person. And so essentially we kind of kept on going with that. And so fast forward to today, we have our software development crew, and that's doing all kinds of custom software development in different languages and platforms, and now a lot of AI development. But we have that's been probably our that was probably the biggest thing for a while. It's sort of evened out over the years. And then we have our IT services group, and that's managed services like supporting businesses and project work. And then, as I mentioned before, I guess somewhere along the line, I noticed, not just me, the few of us working together, that although the technology part and the tech tasks are difficult, the project management around it is probably even harder. And so we decided, okay, let's break off and have a dedicated project management group to have a focus on that. So yeah, we're kind of just computer nerds, cranking away. So.
And so do you go in and help companies set up their project management software, or you help them manage projects?
Both. So we put a pretty seasoned project manager on every project we're doing for a client, and then we also end up playing that role of project management sometimes when there's a company that just needs project management help, but they have their internal folks doing the work.
Okay. Over the years, I've enjoyed seeing the phrase half geek, half human on a lot of your stuff. And
yes.
I guess, where'd that come from, and maybe how do you keep it alive today with your team and communicate it with your clients?
Yeah, so that kind of came from, I would sort of describe us as, we're half geeks, half human. Mainly to show that we sometimes with the tech stuff, there's all kinds of acronyms, and it can be intimidating, I guess, or uncomfortable if you're in a meeting and the computer person is talking about stuff that no one really understands. And so, the idea was like, we're good at translating this, and that kind of spread, that sort of concept spread to the human side as not only being able to talk to people about tech in ways that are easy to understand, but also to think about the business needs, or for clients. So to kind of focus on that and how the technology can support that. So that was sort of the theme, the half geek, half human.
Okay.
And I would just kind of say that, and then at some point, one of our marketing folks was like, "Oh, that would be good as a slogan," and so we started using that. And pretty much today, as your question is, we try to emphasize that as like a core value. As this is what we're trying to be, and so that's been some of it has been just by osmosis, kind of like the few original folks kind of had that kind of vibe to kind of being the half geek, half human, and so I think that's rubbed off on folks. And then we've tried to be intentional about hiring, and try to hire people that aren't necessarily, not that there's anything wrong with this, the heads down coder in a cube, but someone who's has soft skills and comfortable talking to people.
Gosh, that's so important, man. We along the years of Snapshot, we've worked with a lot of different firms, and those that have the developers that you can talk to and
Yes.
they can explain it in an easy way, just were the easiest ones to work with.
Yeah, I think it's important to have that.
Yeah.
So we've kind of tried to have that vibe, just kind of indefinitely.
I wanted to invite you to our next Creative Assembly gathering. It's our relaxed, bi-monthly networking event in East Nashville, where ideas spark over drinks and creative collaborations come to life. We meet at 1530 Riverside Drive with light snacks, refreshments, and plenty of free parking. Whether you're an agency owner, part of a creative team, a freelancer, student, or even a business owner curious about collaboration, you're always welcome at Creative Assembly. RSVPs aren't required, but they help us plan for space and treats. Just search Creative Assembly Nashville on Eventbrite or visit creativeassembly.agency/events for details and the RSVP link. Come ready for connections, conversations, and creative collaboration. We can't wait to see you there. As you started up the biz, you grew it. You had now multiple people. You've been in an office setting. I know you got an office today, but I know a lot of the team is probably working remote, as they are in most development shops and IT firms. But I guess early on, was everybody in office for a long period of time? And
so we always pretty early on, I think the second person we hired actually, I remember the second person we hired, Matthew, who were also still hanging out, working together, and by pure luck was also really has been really strong tech person. I remember one day we had this little tiny office over on White Bridge Road, and there's no windows. It was basically just like a room. And actually, I remember when we moved out, they just made it into a storage closet. I think they didn't even call it an office anymore. But this was you're in your 20s and the .com thing's going. And so I remember that I was working on site at one client, and Glenn was working on site at another client, and Matthew had just started, and he was driving in from Springfield, Tennessee. Yeah. I guess it's maybe 45 minutes, but with traffic, could sometimes be like an hour and a half or more. Mm-hmm. And after like a month, he asked me if he can work from home, because he said he's just basically driving all this way to sit in a closet by himself.
Yeah.
And I was like, just work from wherever. So that kind of got us started on being very flexible, I guess, in our culture. And I think that's kind of my natural state anyway.
Yeah.
But so we've always been office optional. So it's always been just work from wherever is best for you. And typically, we would have pre-pandemic, let's say of 100 people, we'd have maybe 20 at the office any given day. And that was working out fine. If you want to come in and work here, you can. And some people need that. Some people want to have a mix of, home and working in an office. Then when the pandemic came along, of course, we had 0 people in the office. And that, like everyone else, we were forced some things to kind of like, how do you kind of keep connected in this weird time? But we were fairly used to that since we had this optional setup before.
Yeah. Well, staying with culture a little bit, I mean, you've had people that have been with you over 30 years. You've had a lot of developers that have been there, 20 years, 15 years. Like, what is it about the culture you created? Is beyond just like, hey, you work from wherever. Is there any other secret sauce that you do that keeps people working with you?
Let's see. I think the general theme of flexibility, a lot of freedom, has helped. And that's not always been perfect setup for everybody. Some people prefer, more structure. But overall, we've had it where, we've needed people who are fairly self-sufficient and can manage their own time. And so I think that's helped just with that target even of hires, having a good culture around that. There's also, I'd say, we have, various over the years, like, core values kind of thing. And I'd say the number one, though, is empathy. And so, and that really starts with each other at our work. That like, you want to help each other and have each other's back. And if someone messed something up, the idea is not to, criticize anyone. Everyone's doing the best they can. It's to help. And so the whole sort of empathy kind of like focus, I think, has, for some people been a good place, made us a good place for people to be. So yeah, I think that's been probably the secret sauce. One other thing is, I remember thinking about this, like when you're like the owner or CEO or leadership, there's a little bit of a line between like, you work together, can you be friends also? And I think that's always, even no matter how hard you try, there's a little bit of that there. But I've kind of considered like, we have this saying like internally, everything is personal. So it's not just work or business, like it's personal because, of course, if you're at home or at work, it's just you. It's still you. And so we've had that kind of connection, I think, as well, where there's friendships.
Yeah, that's super important. I remember in the early days, we had one of the most complex like web projects, and the team spent like hours and hours on it, and they couldn't figure it out. And it was like integrating one of our clients' stuff into our website. And I remember calling you, JJ, and we came over and you sit down, and I think in like 15 minutes you had it figured out. And you were punching out the code, and you said, oh, okay, yeah, here it is, here it's done. And I guess, I know the work and you've been a practitioner on it. What's been that journey of transition from, there's probably not a lot of code you write today. So.
No, that's been difficult. And like a lot of people, a lot of us in small, medium businesses, I sort of violated the E-Myth rule. I was like, don't work in your business, work on it. I was in it. So I was like, in wires and coding for, I guess, at least 20 years, maybe a little bit more. And I sort of knew that wasn't, that was a challenge to scale. But that's what I liked. And so it was it was a slow adjustment to get more into the management side, or even kind of the strategy side. And so I definitely miss some of the tech stuff, although I kind of pick up on things here and there, especially older languages that none of the younger folks want to mess with. I'll sometimes jump in and I try to, keep my my tech skills up to date, as best I can.
Mm-hmm. They have you, they pull pops out of the...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm the old person that they...
Oh, man. How about in the early days, was there or maybe, it could be, last 10 or 15 years, was there a project that you think sets you guys, like it was, man, this has been one of the best things we've ever done. Like we'd hang our hat on this for years and years.
Yeah. So it was, I guess, maybe mid 90s or maybe late 90s. Everyone was wanting to, have a .com and build like a website and have someone acquire them. And there was, a decent amount of activity all over. And that also helped us do things outside of Middle Tennessee a little bit too. But there was one website that we worked on, and I think it got to like in the top 15 busiest sites at the time.
Wow. Like
in the world. And they were doing all this marketing. It was, oddly enough, or maybe at that time, there was no revenue. It eventually didn't make it because of that. But from the tech side, it was neat because kind of like, okay, we've built this thing and it has like millions of people on it. And that was, it's kind of one of those things like you kind of know, hey, I know how to do this, but that kind of like, was a confidence builder. Like, we're a relatively small company, but we're able to just us, build and support and host this gigantic thing.
Yeah.
So that was one that was pretty cool to do for sure.
Yeah. How many people do you have in Atiba altogether today?
We have right around 100 or so.
Okay.
So, and that's been one by one.
Yeah.
Over the years. We've never, just like, oh, we're trying to grow this amount or this at this pace. It's basically just been slowly trying to add people.
Yeah, I don't think people probably realize. I didn't realize until you told me in the past, like you had that many people, but I would have never thought it. So, congratulations on.
Yeah, no, it's actually in my old age here, it's been very fun. I'm having a really good time. The people we're working with, everybody, 100% of them, I'm just enjoying being around.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's been a good time and a very interesting time between all the changes with AI and all the normal changes that just happen to technology. And so it's been fun to have this crew of people to be on a team like that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, if I polled 100 agency owners and I ask them, like, what is the hardest part of your business? They're all going to say web and development projects. Okay. And so you take them on, that's your focus, but how do you make that happen where it's not so hard?
Yeah. So, like all of us, we're trying to tweak things and improve with, how you approach things. And so, a few things. One is heavy emphasis on project management, like I mentioned before, and try to use some sort of proven methodologies. Mm-hmm. So hiring good project managers has been a big help for us over time. We have, tried to have de-risk like tech stuff as much as possible. So the things that can go wrong with projects, there's a lot of standard ones. There's things get underestimated often. There's scope creep, that's no one intends but can kind of happen. That you could have, on a smaller project if there's 2 developers and one gets sick or something. And so we've essentially, and we're always doing this, is just trying to figure out what could go wrong and how can we mitigate it. Mm-hmm. So that's been like a proactive risk management, I think has helped us. And it's still not perfect. And I remember seeing that, early on, even watching some of the bigger companies that, everyone was having trouble with, software development, and it was stressful. But over time, we've tried to like keep a list of like, okay, this could go wrong. How can we mitigate it?
Mm-hmm. Do you alert the clients up front? Like usually when they come aboard, hey, listen, here's what typically goes wrong in a web project, and here's how we're going to mitigate it.
Yeah. So in every project, we have sort of like a it's a template, but we tweak it, based on the project or the client. But it's basically like, what to expect. And part of that is, okay, here's where things can get out of whack. Now, what's happened a lot nowadays is a lot of people now have had a bad experience with a software development project. So a lot of people are more aware of that. And so I think when we just come out and say that, here's what we're worried about, here's what we want to try to fix, here's some safety valves we're putting in, I think overall that's helped.
Yeah, I bet you spend the first couple months just building trust with them because they've been burned.
Yes,
in the past.
Probably the same as for all of us. It's the task, what we're doing, and you guys and us as well. It's not easy. It's not the, and so building that trust that we're doing the very best we can. We're on your side. We have this kind of theme, pretend like what the client is spending is your own money. If you were taking out of your wallet this money to pay for this, and having that mindset, of just essentially trying to be on the same side and team as the client, that's been important.
Yeah. Well, it's been fun watching you over the years as we've grown our agency too, and seeing you've made some acquisitions along the way, and I guess what did you see in the market when you started acquiring some companies? When did you know, hey, I'm ready to, I think we could handle this? Yeah.
So as our internal infrastructure grew or improved, we started seeing, okay, now we've sort of, again, no one's perfect, but we're doing well with our back office, accounting and marketing and legal and all that. And you feel kind of, hey, we've sort of got a machine going here. And again, nothing, I've never found anything to be like, hey, you're done. But we improved on that over time. And so the idea was, okay, maybe we can leverage that and find any, smaller acquisitions that would fit in with us, and that we, sort of already have the infrastructure that it would be easy for them to join us, essentially.
Yeah.
And so we've done that mainly on the IT services side. That's been the primary part, where there's other managed service providers that have thought have been a good fit, and tried to carefully analyze that as an investment. And you kind of think about, okay, what effect will this have on culture for either the people coming in and our own folks? And so been careful with that, but we've done a few. And then, I'm starting to spend more time thinking outside the box of, just other acquisition opportunities, even tangential to what we're doing, product companies or SaaS companies, that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to mention a name in it, but I'm sure that with every acquisition, there's going to be one or two, or maybe one that doesn't go the way you thought it was going to go. What is it about those that goes, for some of our listeners that might think about acquiring a company, what could go wrong?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and we have had some lessons learned where we haven't had a total disaster, but we've had some that you're kind of look back and this probably wasn't worth doing this, or it was too hard. And so with the idea of trying to keep on learning from mistakes, or I think there's culture fit is really, really important. So I think that is extremely important, which would seem obvious. But when you get excited about, buying something, and the person, the investors or founder that you're buying from, they're excited about it, I think that gets missed sometimes. I think the owner of the company, if it's a small company, making sure that if they're going to continue going, that they would fit in and be happy. I guess that's the more important thing, is actually really like it. And I think that's hard. If, all of us who are business owners, it would be different to be, in something larger, a little bit larger, or, with not having control. So I think it's some of the soft things that have been kind of wrong. And then otherwise, in terms of the financial side, I've always been a little bit cautious. So I've not been like a big risk taker. So we've pretty much never even looked at anything that, this is more of a speculation than mathematically this makes sense.
Yeah. Well, maybe, for the audience, maybe, you've built a 30-year company, and there's very few people, 30-plus year company. Like, what is a piece of advice you'd give to somebody maybe starting out or a few years into their business today of what it takes to have you've went through, the .com bust, the boom, the bust, the 2008 crisis, there's probably a lot of things that really impacted your business, but you stayed with it.
Yeah, I think there's many different ways to win and do well in business. And it can be sort of subjective, and some of it might just match what each of us wants, what our end goal is. For me, I always wanted to have, I didn't want to take on debt. That was, in some businesses, that may not be possible. But for us, I didn't want to do that because I wanted to have the flexibility to grow, or if something went bad, if there was a pandemic or a .com bust, not have a lot of pressure on me. And so I think I like the idea, like businesses, startups or whichever, that have a long ramp. And I guess what I mean by that is that you can stay in business a long time, even if things aren't going your way. So I remember this could be totally wrong. I remember way back, this is probably the 90s, I read like Microsoft keeps like enough cash on hand to like operate for a year if they had zero revenue. And that may not be exactly right, but that general idea of having, I guess, a safety net. And maybe it kind of comes back to you're kind of looking at the upside, but you're also trying to think, about what could go wrong, which is fun to think about. But I think that helps in business.
Yeah. How do you? So you've got multiple businesses within Atiba.
Yes.
From the IT support services, development, AI now. Do you have a leader over each one of them, and then how do you manage each of them?
Yeah. So that's taken time to figure out as well. For a long time, we were like completely flat organization. It's basically just a bunch of half geeks, half humans just hanging out, working together, and trying to take care of each other and the clients. And of course, as things grow, that you have to kind of scale, how you manage. And so we're set up. A few years ago, actually, some of it was you mentioning it to me. We started doing the EOS approach. That I think helped us, especially. There's a concept in EOS, and I'm sure not everybody knows what this even is, but like this management framework, the accountability chart. And so the idea of sort of designing an org chart without the names, just like what's the ideal skill sets, capacities, and all that kind of got us to change around our structure some. And so the way we're set up now is we have team leads. So we have, on each, we have software developers on different teams with different leads. We rotate the people on the teams around a bit, just so it wouldn't be like, hey, you're on just so we're all part of the same Atiba team, as an enterprise and as a company. So we've used that approach, and then we've kept a very small management layer. So just it's really just 4 people. And so that's basically it. Team lead model, and then kind of a small, kind of a nimble management layer.
Well, you brought up AI just a little bit ago, and I know you're doing a lot of work there.
Yes.
Like what tell us a little bit about like how you guys are developing it out, what kind of outcomes you're seeing, and maybe like is there stuff still out there that's like fluff of
Yeah. So it's been fascinating, and the good and bad about being, a techie is, every few years everything changes. And technology moves along so fast, and so that's hard because you have to keep on learning. But it's also great because you're never bored, and you get to learn something new. And so just I've always found that like better too busy than too bored has generally felt comfortable for me. And so this whole transition to AI has actually been really interesting and fun. And it presents a new challenge that you can dig into. So what we've found so far, before ChatGPT and everything this all became very popular, we were already doing some AI machine learning programming. Actually, mainly most of it for just two larger clients. But that kind of gave us like a core of like technical knowledge that we had to start from on how to build AI-based applications or how to implement AI. So we decided we would try to leverage that to do a few things. One is to help our clients optimize their businesses with AI, whether that's with existing products or building out AI, applications that are custom for them. So we've seen a lot of that. And then we decided, like everyone else, how can we optimize our own internal working, operations and delivery and, to make us more efficient using AI. And so what I'm seeing is there's definitely, it's a little bit like a software development project to me, is that you need to be intentional about planning. So, the whole thing around project management and having strategy and thinking of the business side, not more so than the tech side, I think that is key. And one thing we've tried to do both for ourselves and for clients is anything you're spending money on, it should either have a high likelihood of, making you more money, having a profit, or reduce some risks so you can sleep at night better. And so I found just like software development and features you put in software or anything you invest in IT or tech, AI has been kind of the same. As each task or project that comes up or idea is, kind of measured against, is there a clear path to profit with this? Or is this going to, like I said, save some kind of something going wrong?
Yeah.
And so there's definitely sometimes on the fluff side that you'll kind of see something like, oh, this really doesn't do either of those. It's kind of cool or very cool.
Yeah.
But doesn't have a high impact. And so I think, being proactive on checking yourself for that is good.
How much of it, I mean, this probably seems like something that you are leaning into a little more heavily with development and tinkering around and it probably engages you. Is that right?
Yeah. So I've been myself. This is just in my off time, like as a hobbyist, kind of playing with AI development. Some of it I'm like that stuff, and some of it just I can learn it to be able to consult more and help ourselves and others. And so for software development, it's definitely helping a lot. And there's all kinds of caveats around it, like what areas of software development it thrives in and what tasks that you can work on, you can have AI do for you. But overall, it's helped a lot. And so far for us, what's happening is it's basically just reducing the cost for a project. So I remember there was a guy we met, it was like a year and a half ago, and he had an idea for a startup, and we estimated it, and he was like, "Hey, I get this. This sounds right. That's too much for me." We're like, totally understand. And I called him back, like a couple months ago, and I was like, "Well, if we can use AI to build this, we kind of got it down to about like, maybe a third or so of the price. It's just less labor. And he was like, okay, that sounds perfect. Let's go. So overall, it's increasing the volume you can do. And again, there's a lot of complexities on what's good and bad. There's some risks around AI, around intellectual property and security, and maintainability. But overall, yeah, we've been like embracing it.
What do you think it'll, like your prediction for what you think it'll do for your industry, in the next, let's say 3 years?
I think it will, it might change the demand a little bit from pure tech skills to more of the human skills of, more being able to tell the AI what to do. And so it's like business analyst type roles. I can see, being more and more valuable. And so we're trying to adjust to that. I think overall, it could affect employment of coders and all that, and people actually, who are hands-on. But I think there's a decent chance it'll just make coders more efficient and be able to do more work.
So you may be able to scale the business up, by 3 and
Exactly.
maybe not have to hire anybody else.
Yeah.
Everybody makes a lot more money. And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a huge win for everybody.
Yeah, so it's almost like if you have an AI assistant, then it just makes you that more productive, and you can just do more work.
Yeah. Well, JJ, this has been fascinating. Is there anything that maybe I didn't ask you or that you'd want to share with the audience?
Let's see. I don't think so. Overall, I guess the main thing for me is I'm really enjoying this path that I've been on. I've never felt any burnout or anything, and like I said, it's almost becoming more and more fun with age. And so I hope that for anyone watching or listening, that if you can find something like that where kind of your work life and personal life are again kind of mixed together in a way that's fun and fulfilling. That's by a little bit of luck been the way it's turned out for me.
Yeah, find what you love to do.
Yeah.
Well, and just actually taking it back one step, the half geek, half human. I was thinking about the AI, and you talked about like people are going to have to be even more personal, like almost like business analyst. And your philosophy with that, you're uniquely suited to capitalize on it, just because you've got a bunch of techie people that can actually talk human and and communicate with clients. So it could really benefit.
Yeah, leveraging that I think will be key.
Yeah.
So be able to have a good understanding of, what a client, what they want, understanding that clearly, as well as to be able to think outside the box. Like, oh, have you thought of this? We tried this for another client and it helped. And so I think all those kind of the human skills will probably keep on becoming more and more important as AI makes some of the technical skills easier.
Yeah. Well, JJ, thanks so much for everything you're doing for Nashville and technology space. It's been fun to watch you guys just continue to grow and evolve as we've, been in business. And, I appreciate your friendship. And
yes, me too. I was going to say vice versa. It's been really cool to see what you have been doing in your company. And it's nice to have peers together that we can help each other and trade war stories and support one another.
Man, it is so important.
Yes.
I've learned so much from you over the years, and I hope
yes,
you'd
vice
say
versa.
the same.
Yes.
So thank you. Well, JJ, thanks again. And that's a wrap of this episode of The Spark. A huge thanks to JJ for being a part of the show today and teaching us about how to build a 30-year legacy company. If today's episode sparked any interest in you, please subscribe, rate, and review this episode so that we can get it out to more people. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
And that's a wrap on this episode of The Spark from Creative Assembly. Thanks for spending time with us and exploring the minds shaping Nashville's creative future. If you're walking away more inspired, connected, or energized, that's exactly the point. A big thank you to our sponsor, Snapshot, and the incredible team behind the scenes who make this show possible. Your support fuels every conversation and keeps collaboration alive. So if you haven't already, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, stay creative, stay curious, and keep that spark.